Daredevil.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
Fortunately,
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you had watched the new Daredevil, to be honest, because you had binged Andor. But go take it away.
No. I would have dropped Andor to watch that in a heartbeat. Yeah. So we had another great episode of Daredevil. I actually would go as far as to say it was very well done. It was entertaining. It leaves a lot of questions for me though. And I'm seeing the trajectory that this season's going on. We talked about this a bit last week and a little bit about it the week before about how you can clearly tell the difference between the two shows that they have created and kind of combined together. It's not bad. It's not Brave New World messy. It's just very evidently so that it was two different shows put together. And this episode, for this episode had some integral plot twist moments that I did not expect to happen. Let's start by talking about this. The character of Muse. Do you know who Muse is in the comics? Have you heard of this character at all?
Yeah. I will admit I don't know like everything about them, but like you say the name, I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
So Muse is the insane, deranged serial killer in the Daredevil universe. And for what we get of the character, really good. And the actor who plays him, I didn't get his name, does a absolutely incredible job portraying the character. That being said, this character dies in this episode, and we are 2 episodes away from finishing the series. And my biggest problem with
season,
finishing
this
the season
is confirmed for a season 2.
Yeah, confirmed for season 2. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I knew what you meant. I just wanted to make sure it was clear. Yeah.
We are 2 episodes away from finishing the season, and we have now killed off who, in my eye, was supposed to be the big bad of this season. And it is now the most underwhelming thing ever, because I feel like they are just aimlessly chugging along now. First off, we barely really saw Muse. Here's the I stand by my statement of I still think this season is better than season 2, whether it's by much or whether it's a long gap in between saying that. It's yet to be seen because the show hasn't finished yet.
Yeah.
But I still think it's better than season 2 as of right now. They are kind of just aimlessly wandering now. I don't know where this plot's going beyond, okay, I know where the conflict is heading. I know that Kingpin is basically saying now that he knows that Daredevil's back, and Matt is taking up the suit after their lovely talk in the diner saying, hey, don't pick up that suit again. I will get involved if you do. And Matt completely disobeys. He puts the suit on again and he does vigilanteing. Kingpin is now hellbent of banning all vigilantes. Which poses the good question of what does that really mean for the future of the MCU? Does that mean every vigilante in New York City, like Spider-Man, Kamala Khan, these people who wear a mask and fight crime, does that mean Kingpin will go after all of them?
That's the other thing is, and I don't know if the story covers any of this, but where do you make that distinction between superhero and vigilante?
Sure.
Because I definitely see Daredevil as a vigilante, but I guess you bring up Spider-Man. In some people's eyes, and definitely Kingpin's eyes, he would be viewed as a vigilante. To others, he would be more viewed as a superhero because he's saving the world as opposed to just the street level things. But that is kind of, I guess, an interesting question in the sense of where do you draw that line? And again, I don't know if they explore that at all, but
I think that it's the idea of just vigilante in general, people who hide behind the mask. Kingpin doesn't necessarily, I don't think he cares at all, really. But I think the thing he's trying to say within the show is, okay, Captain America, we know he's Steve Rogers. At least we know who he is. We know who he is behind the mask. It's easier to find them once you know who they are. Kingpin's trying to get rid of the whole you hide behind the mask, you cower behind the mask, you fight crime without us knowing who you are, and you were just this vigilante, this person. And I think he knows that he wants to get rid of that because he knows how big of a threat vigilantes are, as very evidently proven with Matt Murdock as Daredevil, who has now twice foiled Kingpin's plans. And so it's the idea of, I'm getting rid of this so that this doesn't bother me again. And so I see the rabbit hole they're going down. But they set up Muse to be a lot more of an important character and a lot more of an important player. And now he's just gone and he's done. I have no idea where this season's going. I know where it's probably going to end up with Kingpin trying to do that. And for Kingpin's story, I know exactly where it's going. For Matt Murdock and for like his big antagonist, like, okay, born again, he's Daredevil again. So what is it? Just Batman and Robin now? Villain of the week? He's gonna go find somebody to beat up each week, each episode? Like,
yeah,
that wasn't what the original show was. And I'm not saying it has to be exactly like the original show, but you should at least try to do a story that is connected and weave through the entire way.
Yeah. Villain of the week doesn't really work. Like
not for Daredevil. Not for Daredevil. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And like my thing is like, you can have a quote unquote villain of the week. I'm fine with it, but it can't be this constant. You know, in the original show, I guess you could classify the villain of the week in some episodes was Stick, his mentor who taught him how to fight and power through his blindness, to channel with the inner echolocation that Matt eventually develops. And that was fine. But honestly, my least favorite episodes of the original Daredevil season are the ones with Stick in them. And that's because it really doesn't feel like there's a connected story to it. And that's kind of what it feels like here is I don't see the connectiveness. Where is this going? I don't want to be aimlessly wandering forever, because then
you lost your through
rushed
line.
finale. And again, I think once we get to season 2, it will fully, now that they've like, okay, this is the story we're going to tell. We're not, going back and forth in between different types of shows to show here. We're starting here, we're ending here. I think they have to get through the weeds in order to get there. And unfortunately, the season's going to take a hit because of that. And I think that's very evidently clear. But I can't say anything more than the fact of I don't know where the show is going. And I'm not saying that in like a good way. I don't know where it's going. And the title character of the show, I really don't know where he's going. And it doesn't sit right with me. I wish they would have actually taken charge in connecting the story more. Because here's what I will say. At least Brave New World, with all its messiness, had a complete character arc. It had a start to finish. You saw the development of the characters. And you knew where it was going, even though sometimes that was at its detriment in the movie. Here it really does feel like the roadmap is getting messed up. So I think that's where this show is going to have its biggest fault in the end. Overall, this episode, still really good. The writing is phenomenal. The scenes with Muse in them, which I think is technically only 2, really good. My God, he is threatening. He is scary. He's actually putting up a really good fight against Matt. Who again, Matt with all his ninja-like abilities. I mean, this guy's just a serial killer. He should not be able to fight the way he's fighting, but he is, and he's holding his own against Matt Murdock, and it makes him such an intimidating villain. I really do like Kingpin's character in this episode. I thought Vincent D'Onofrio did a great job. I thought that the writing for Kingpin this episode was really good. His whole episode character arc this episode is, I don't want to believe that Daredevil's back. For the love of God, I don't want to believe that Daredevil's back. Please
denial.
And then at the end, he's just like, no, fuck, he's back. And he kind of has to come to the conclusion of, oh, okay, well, let's get rid of vigilantes, shall we? And the other thing that like is really interesting about Kingpin's character is, and this is something that's been happening the whole season, I haven't really talked about yet because I wasn't bored by it, but there wasn't really anything that has happened that makes me feel like it's worth talking. But obviously Vanessa is in this show as well. They brought her back. She was one of the rewrites that they added in. It's a lot more seamless. But the whole point of, while Kingpin was away during Echo, he stepped away after he got his eye shot in Hawkeye. And then the whole Echo series was him coming to terms and trying to reconnect with Echo, who he sees as this daughter-like figure. And he stepped away from Vanessa. And apparently while he was gone, Vanessa took to another lover named Adam. And Kingpin in the first episode comes up to her and is like, hey, by the way, I know about Adam. And you think, okay, that's it. He knows he's not going to pull the trigger. He's fine. And then you get to episode 4, and of course, Adam's locked away in a cage. He's been there the whole time. Kingpin's had him in a cage this whole time.
Nothing's ever okay with Kingpin.
No,
he never can take something lightly. Like, I feel like, again, I haven't seen all of Daredevil, but like just his character arc in Echo, like he can't take anything lightly. Like someone does it, like a little tiny little discrepancy against anyone that he cares, like anything. No, he takes it to the extreme. You are fucked.
The thing is, I love describing Kingpin this way. He's like the biggest man-child ever, but also at the same time, he's a very intellectual man-child. He gets
I was
mad
gonna
when
say,
you take his toys, and he doesn't like to share, and he throws a fit about it.
He is insanely intelligent, well-calculated, connected, while also just being so immature about it. Like again, like you said, someone takes his toy and he throws a tantrum. Like,
yeah. But the biggest plot twist of this episode, and this was something that Vanessa dealt with, was she pretty much has deducted that Kingpin has taken Adam, and that he's either killed Adam or he is like tucked away somewhere, and she's never going to see him again. And she kind of blames him for it. And she sends this other guy to go kill dear old Wilson Fisk. And the final shot of this episode is Wilson Fisk about to get his head blown off Godfather style in a restaurant surrounded by Italian food. And you see the gun come out, points right at Kingpin, pew, bop, in James Bond fashion, just silencer, assassin-like kills. Kingpin doesn't even like flinch. Like he knows this is probably going to happen. And he just sits there cutting his sausage, and he goes, "Thank you, Buck. Could you please tell Vanessa, could you ask her if she wants some souffle on the way home? Thank you." And he's not even fazed by it.
It's very Kingpin.
Well, and the thing that I really love about Kingpin's character is, even though Vanessa is willing to go as far as to hurt Wilson Fisk and to shoot him, which because she knows he survived a gunshot wound to the eye, there's probably some part of her that knows he's going to survive a gunshot wound to the back of the head. But she wants him to feel pain. And I think Wilson Fisk, in a very terrifying way, because when, again, didn't flinch, and that's all he did is, I'm going to rope her back in. I'm going to keep her right where I want her. And that's the terrifying part of this, is he went from somebody who, because he does love Vanessa, and he just wants Vanessa. That being said, he wants the Vanessa that he creates, not the woman that she's now becoming, who is this woman who, during Echo, took over Fisk's under like seedy underbelly control the crime and whatnot. He wants Vanessa exactly the way she was when they first met, and he's trying to control her, and it's so eerie, but it's so well done. And I will say this, Wilson Fisk is the one thing in this show that you can't tell where the rewrites are. You can't tell where the show was what at one point, and this was what it became. He is the one constant, and that's really, really nice. The biggest parts are the Daredevil scenes, which is really unfortunate because, again, he is the title character.
Yeah.
This isn't the Kingpin show, which unfortunately I would love that. That'd be great.
Maybe similar Punisher style. Maybe we'll get maybe not a whole season or anything, but like a special dedicated to Kingpin. I mean, probably not, just because he's such a titular character, and so, like, again, you have him in Echo, you have him in the original Daredevil, you have him in this Daredevil. Like, we would
never get that, and that's purely because he, even though he's not in the title, he is the co-lead of Daredevil, and the show presents it as so. He is the co-lead. They're not going to give him his own spin-off movie or show and then just dedicate that completely to him, because this is his show. Even though he's not the title character, literally not the title character, this is also his show. This is his. But yeah, writing standpoint, any scene that Matt and Heather Graham had was really good. It was really well done. They have a great scene in the beginning where she basically tells Matt, like, you're holding back about your guilt and you're not coming to terms with something. What are you hiding? And it's Matt's like inner struggle of, I'm doing daredeviling again, and this is exactly what got Foggy killed. This is exactly what started the whole thing off. It's what ended my once great career with my two friends, and now I'm here, and I'm like, and at the end of this episode, we the last one of the last things we see Matt is because Muse goes after Heather Graham. We see Matt hold Heather and basically tell her like, hey, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, and thankfully she survives. But it's also this moment of, Matt, you just picked up Daredeviling again, and you've already caused somebody to get hurt because of the fact that you're Daredevil.
Yeah.
And it's really good writing. And that's the one thing I do love about it. The shots, oh my god, the fight scene was brutal. Oh my god. I want to talk about that for a second. There's a literal part where Daredevil takes his billy clubs and just throws it through the collarbone of Muse and pulls him back to the ground. It is brutal. Yeah. I've never seen that happen, but I'm like, God, that's great. It's so cool. This episode was very good. I don't have many problems with this episode itself. It's much more the overarching thing, which is we're just aimlessly wandering, and until they get a focus. Yeah. Which again, next episode we could have a focus, and it could have totally. I could be wrong about this. We totally have had a reason for having all these things, but I'm willing to stake money on the fact that that's not the case, and that unfortunately this show is just. It's getting bogged down by the fact of this is what they originally created. This is what they wanted to create. They combined them both, and it's just a little messy in between. So yeah. I'm willing to deal with that. If they mess up season 2 the same way they messed up this season, then I'm not going to have so much grace, because then you had literal time to fix this. And not only that, you had a clear roadmap for this season, which you may not have had for season 1. It's not a game, it's a